But welcome everybody to Contain the Chaos. We have a really great workshop today to help you guys with organization and efficiency today. So I'm gonna introduce Liz here in a second, but first I have just a little bit of housekeeping for a lot of you guys. Um, Today's presentation is brought to you guys by Score. Surprise if you did not know that, although I would imagine most of you did since you had to register on the website, right? Now, if you have not checked out the website in extensive taking some extensive time to take a look at the website, go ahead and go to the link that I popped in the chat there. It's going to be score.org. And we have a plethora of resources to help all of our small business owners all across the nation. So you guys are able to request a mentor, somebody like myself or Ian that can help you in a number of different facets of your business, all the way from starting to exiting a business. You guys can also put in your local zip code to find out workshops, webinars, in person events, and other miscellaneous resources that are available in your area through SCORE. So check out the website and find out what we can do for you today. Trust me, there's so many resources available to you guys through SCORE. Don't hesitate to take a look. Separately, today's presentation is going to be sponsored by the Pima County Library. So our sponsors at the library have a lot of really great resources for business owners as well. Yes, thank you, Liz, for clapping it up. We love books. The Pima County Library has the Ignite program, which is actually going to be very similar to SCORE's website, where it gives you a lot of information about mentors you can work with, about in-person events that happen in the community so you guys can get engaged, as well as different workshops that we post all throughout the month. So check out their website. And for any of you guys that are not in the Pima County area, okay, just check out your local library in general, all across the nation. They have really great resources. There are business librarians, there are nonprofit librarians. There are a number of different people there to give you market research on your business. So check them out. Okay, we love the library. Next, you may have heard me mention a lot of you guys are going to be coming in from Arizona, but this is actually going to be a district wide workshop. What's that mean? That just means that the majority of the people that are going to be joining us today have registered either from the states of Arizona or from the states of Utah. Does that mean you can't join the presentation if you're not in those states? Absolutely not. What that generally just means is that if we have any specific information that is a little bit more district specific, make sure you are taking that with a grain of salt and that you reach out to your local mentors or local resources to find out what different resources are going to correlate to you in your area. Okay, I don't think there's anything here that's going to be specific to Arizona because Liz herself doesn't even live in live in Arizona. So everything that we're talking about today is pretty generalized and should apply to everybody in this presentation. And then lastly, okay, we love questions or concerns. I'm gonna say it 50 million times. This is you guys' time to learn. So if you have any questions, myself and Ian will be monitoring the chats. Leave your questions in the webinar chat and we'll interrupt Liz, or we'll also have different breaks throughout to go through questions. Or if you guys are a little bit more shy, you want to do it anonymously, you can also leave your questions in the Q&A section. That's fine. We'll still check that section as well. Okay. Um, I encourage everybody to put their questions in the chat. Make sure you send it to like everyone in the chat as opposed to just the host and panelists. I like for everybody to be able to see the questions that we have. We also record the webinars. So after this is done, I'll be sending a copy of the recording. We'll send you a copy of Liz's slides, and then we'll also send you a copy of the transcript of the chat. So we'll be able to see everything you guys talk about in the chat as well. So that's why I want you to post it to everybody. But if not, I'll be sure to say the question out loud so that way everybody hears it as well. Lovely. I think that's all my housekeeping. Liz, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you to give a brief introduction of yourself and then go ahead and get the ball rolling.
Thank you, Wesley. And I will also reiterate everything that Wesley just said is definitely use all the resources, ask questions along the way. I am here to try to support. I can't see the chat when I'm screen sharing, so I might be popping in and out of the screen share if Ian or Wesley interrupts me, just so I can also read it. Yeah, here's a quick question to engage you all. Like, drop it, let me know. Have you ever wished that you can clone yourself or skip sleeping just so you can get more work done? Because I'm definitely guilty of that. Like, I'm always like, what can I do if I can do more of myself and have more time? Yeah. So while you all are answering that, I'll give a little bit of background about myself and what I do and why we're here. So Webinar is about organizing and increasing efficiency, specifically in Gmail, but there will be resources for you to look at things if you're using other platform for email management. I'm Liz Wynn with S&P Factor. I founded this business consultant trying to help people, small business and nonprofits, just like get their organization structure to the next level, because there's a quote that I learned recently that says processes sets you free. Meaning if you can create the structure and processes, you don't have to think about it anymore. You can just do it innately and just flow with it. And it frees more room for you to think about your business and work on your business instead in your business. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm trying to help you all figure out ways to just streamline a few things to make it easier for you to work on your business instead of like in your business with all the admin stuff. Yeah. So the objective of the workshop, it will be designing an email labeling system, creating email filters, discovering what email alias is, developing a file naming convention, and assessing your technology stack. If some of these like make no sense to you, we will learn about it along the way. It is a hands-on workshop, so there will be some moments where I take a 5-10 minute break to stop talking because I don't like to talk a lot, but to give you all a chance to kind of like reflect, think about it, and also ask questions. Oh, this is who I am. I kind of already went through at the beginning, so we're gonna skip this a little bit. But just here's, I love eating. So you can see the photo of food. And then this is my princess cat, Bun Me. She's also named after food. Okay, right into the meat of it. So email labels and filters, like what are they? And you'll also get all this information afterwards. So these are clickable links. You can't click them right now, but once you get the slide deck afterwards, you can click at them and look into them more. But the idea of labels for the email is, in Gmail specifically, is they're like tags. They just help you highlight things, think about things a little bit more on a broader scope so you see things at a glance and see what they are. And then email filters help you automate some processes for emails for you. And I'll show you an example of it. So you can see here on the left side, these are, again, in Gmail, but you can see the different email labels. I organize these based on things like I work in. So I have like some legality information, finances, networking opportunities. So this just helps me when I look at my email on the right side at a glance, I'll be like, oh, the greens are the opportunities. Not important emails right now. I have a whole list of things to do. So maybe I'll kind of pause that and look at it later. So the idea of this is like it helps you be able to look at things at a glance and know immediately what's important, what's not important. So you can see like down here, finance and tax stuff, I made it red. So my brain's like, oh, let me make sure I read that email first. Because as solopreneurs or entrepreneurs coming in, you know, like how much emails you might be getting in a day, like sometimes hundreds. It's way too much. But this could help like navigate and ease you your organization if you don't have like an admin assistant to help you. So this is an example of doing email filters specifically and how to set it up in Gmail. So you can see I'm typing in words there, and then it automatically filters out all the emails. And after that, you click create a filter, you choose the label, and here I'm looking through choosing a label. And what this does when you create the filter is it does it automatically. It tells Gmail that every time an email comes in, it looks for these specific words. And if it matches, it labels it for you. So right here, I'm doing it retrospectively, meaning I'm applying it, looking for it, and creating it. But then after the first creation, all the emails moving forward will automatically get that tag. So I was doing SCORE for the Silicon Valley specifically because I'm from San Jose, just moved here. And I made the label as external education workshop, just so like I can look at it being like, oh, these are opportunities, because I get a lot of them as newsletters. So I was like, I just want to know what these are. Okay, this is the first break. I want to give everyone a chance to try it now live, or at least start thinking about it, like what email labels can you do, or how can you create and organize your email system. So here are some prompt questions. How can you group your emails? What type of emails come into your inbox? So you can see like I have the Arizona and California legality, client information, finances, some common themes, clients, leads, networking, resources, newsletter, etc. Okay, I'll stop rambling and I'll see if there's any questions while we give like about 5 to 10 minutes for people to kind of sit and think about this. And please do drop examples if you're willing to share how you're going to use it. So far, no.
Liz?
Yes, Ian.
Is Ian, there's a question from someone who creates a label called later, but then I never think it's important enough to go through. It tends to accumulate, become overwhelming. What advice would you have on that?
That is a great question. It always comes to kind of like procrastination at that point, right? I think what works for me, and this might not work for everyone, but if I had a label created later, I think I would relabel it and kind of categorize as something specific instead of just saying later, because then later just becomes like, oh, I'll do it later, and it just piles up and becomes like almost, I won't say irrelevant, but just always on the back burner. And as that to-do list keeps growing, you are less likely to look at it. So I would try to reframe the later into something else specific for you to do. Like maybe if you want to do a later, you can categorize as like within a week, and then like much later, as in like eventually I'll get to it. It'll be nice to have. I do that for a lot of my projects, and as a business owner, I'm constantly thinking, I was like, oh, these are so cool. I want to do this or I want to do that. And I have a list that's like nice to have, eventually get to. So that's like my dream list. And then I have a list that's like, I should look at this within a week. And I keep that list within a week pretty small. Like I always try to see if it's urgent or not urgent. Tips for Outlook. I don't use Outlook, but once you get the PowerPoint, there is links on the side. Let me go back to, so you can see on this right side, there is links for like creating email equivalent filters in Outlook, and they're called rules. And when you click on that, and you can go through the whole process, and it'll tell you step by step of how to do it. But although the process to do it is different, the idea is still the same. Like you would want to figure out your themes, what you want to do to create it, and then go through there. I hope that makes sense. Does that help, Lisa? Hopefully, I don't see. Okay. Does anyone have like other themes that they're wanting to use for the email labeling? Okay. I guess I'll move forward into our next portion of it. Okay. The next one is email alias. I don't know if you all know about this, but as a small business, in Outlook too, and in Gmail, you can create multiple email alias, and they're not inboxes, but they give you like another identity, and no one can know except now I'll be telling you my secret identities. But the idea is you can create like departments in some ways from the outside. People will think you have a bigger business or just different contacts than you really are. And the purpose of this is just more like systems and organization. So like, for example, my full name's Elizabeth, but I go by Liz. So sometimes when I'm networking, I might introduce myself as Elizabeth, and people might try to contact me instead of emailing me at Liz at S&P Factor. They'll be like, first name, Elizabeth, let's do Elizabeth. And if they try that, the email may bounce. Well, it will bounce because it doesn't exist. So instead of doing that, I create an alias, meaning I create a fake email address, Elizabeth at snpfactor.com. So once you email that email, it actually goes directly to my regular inbox, Liz at S&P Factor. So I'll still get it, it won't be lost, and I'll still be able to contact people. So that's like one example, but some other ones are like info. I know there's a lot of bots online, so they tend to just send like massive emails and spam emails. So on my website, all my public facing information is info at S&P Factor. And then I still get all that information, but it's tagged with the info line on my inbox. So then I know who contacted me from where. I'm like, it says info. Oh, this must be a person reaching out through the website. So I take it with a grain of salt. I'm like, are they an actual good lead networking, or is this just a spam email? And then there's like social media, receipts. I use receipts to keep track of all my invoices on the email just to be easier. Instead of emailing to Liz, it emails to receipts, which is still to my regular inbox. But it gets a tag automatically that goes into receipts so I can do bookkeeping later.
Liz, there's a question that can you
Yeah.
do this in Outlook? But I noticed on your slide here, the bottom right, you've got a link to tell people how to do it.
You can do it in Outlook. Yeah, I did look it up to make sure you can do it in Outlook. Yeah, so this is another pause moment. So what are some use cases for your business that you're thinking of potentially doing alias? So again, I'm reminding you all like alias is not a whole new inbox. So it's not paying for another user. It's still you're getting your main inbox, everything flooded, but it's just another email address in case people get things wrong, or you kind of want to just separate some things. Like Brian saying sometimes they don't spell his name correctly. So then he can do like Brian at insert his business.com in different variations. So when they email him, it doesn't just bounce, they'll still get to him. And then when he responds, it'll be from his main inbox. Do I give alias out to others? Not often, honestly. For myself, I give out my main email address, Liz at S&P Factor, but aliases are used for me like for more professional things. Professional as in like things that are not organizational. Let me rephrase it. I give out alias to things that I sign up for more often than I do to people. So when I do like social media, instead of using Liz at S&P Factor, I use social media at S&P Factor, or the contact on that page through that, just so it helps me differentiate knowing where things are coming from. Where do you do to create the alias in the email address? Let's see, do I have? No. So I don't have a walkthrough there, but once you get this, I do have a resource on the right side for you to check out, to click through, and I'll go through step by step of how to do it. It's a little bit more convoluted, and that's why I didn't show it in this presentation, because you will have to go through your, if it's in Google, like your admin page, You have to search for users and then you go and create it. Like it's just hidden deep down. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's a lot of talking. Okay, I'm gonna take a really quick water break. On to our last two section of the webinar. And these are more broad ideas of structuring and organization. So like the first half was about email specific, email management. This one is about naming convention and file naming convention. So what does that mean? If you think about how you store all your digital assets, from your presentations to all your receipts, what else? Client information, proposals, handbooks, etc. Like you have so much stuff. And then in that, you're probably throwing it in some kind of Google Drive on your computer, in random folders. And when that happens, like if you're downloading information, you're just throwing things around, and then you're like later thinking, where was that meeting notes? What was that meeting notes called again? And then you're like trying to search through the little search engine they give you to look for your stuff, and you just can't find it. I've done that. And that's why I have this file naming convention. Is I'm trying to encourage people to not stumble upon the problem, because I've been there. I'm still guilty of working through it and reminding myself that I have to stick to a naming convention. So what the naming convention does, it helps you find things a lot easier for your future self. It makes it consistent. And the hard part about it is when you first started, it's a lot of work. Like when I say a lot of work, it's the muscle memory work. When I create these file naming convention, like for example, the business expenses or my receipts, so I can track it later. It took me, I think, a whole year before I started being able to do it innately, like just quickly and just think like, okay, this is how I want to name things. But before, I always had to pull up my naming convention on the side while I'm like renaming. I'm like, what was the method again? And I say that to share vulnerability with people, but also tell you all like it's very important to have a naming convention just so it's helping you in the future, but it's not an easy process in the upfront work. And I acknowledge that, but I'm encouraging you to make it easier on yourself, because in the long run, the more you do it consistently, the better it is for yourself. And especially as you grow as a business, whether you take on more clients, or 5 years from now, you get audited and you need no receipt to show proof, or you're bringing on more team members and they're trying to look back at information, and they just don't know how to find it. This naming convention will help you. So keep it simple, have dates on it, and be consistent about it. These are some examples of how you can do things, of labeling it, but do something that makes it work for you. And I encourage you to really think about that. One of the biggest part, when you're naming files, is to make sure you have dates in them. And then when you do dates, regardless of where you put the date in the file naming, where it's at the beginning or the end, but always put the year first, and then the month, and then the date of the month. And that's just because like it helps it organize it for you, when you're organizing it by name. If you're ever in there and you're like sorting things by name, it'll help make sure it pulls it based on year, versus if you do month, it will be like January 2023 stuff, and then January 2024, and then January 2025. And sometimes I find more often than not, people want to work through chunks and years. So now, again, another 5 to 10 minutes to think about it and how you can implement it and ask questions. Um, Another tip is if naming conventions don't quite work for you, something you can do for systems is folders, naming folders appropriately. So you can use the folders as a way to navigate. I have a hard time with folders because sometimes I would name folders and then I would stick them in the folder. And then later my brain just changes as it goes. And then it's like, it should be in this folder, but now I can't find it. What other folder? So I tend to lean more towards the naming convention versus using folder systems, but everyone works differently. So I encourage you to think about it and maybe whether the folder system or the naming convention works better for you. I wish I can play some music for people to kind of work through this so I'm not just sitting in silence. Question is, are there any tools available that can automatically organize files on my computer? That's a fantastic question. Are there? I'm thinking myself to see if there is. I don't think so. I'm not aware of any tools that can automatically organize the files. Uh, yeah. If you do find any, or if I do find any later on, I'll do some research to see. I'll let you all know. As in, I'll have Wesley share a follow up, or Ian share a follow up with people. But that's why I encourage you all to start now and moving forward, just to start a naming convention. So then your files do get organized moving forward. And maybe if you have time, backtrack. But oftentimes that backtracking sometimes is not worth it, honestly. So just do things like moving forward to help your future self for sure. Lisa's sharing that she likes having the dates first and use folders within OneDrive. They adopted files from the previous owners of their business, and it was hard to figure out the reasoning about where the files were placed and named. But now that they have a system, it's a lifesaver. Yeah, systems really do help. Processes gives you freedom, like it makes you have to think about things less. So definitely encourage the naming convention. And if you end up adopting things or hiring on people, sometimes you can even do a short, what is it, like cheat sheet. Like you can create a short cheat sheet, tell people like why this is named a certain way or what's in this folder, so other people can also look at it and be able to learn the way the business works on a much quicker scale. Wow. We're like 30 minutes in, and I think I only have one more information. I'm just like blasting through this and talking really fast, I feel like. How are you all feeling? I don't have like, I can't see people's face or reactions or anything. It's literally just me and my computer screen. Rachel shared that she likes ideas of dates and thinks the backlog of work is too much to take on this project. For sure. Okay. Give me a thumbs up in the webinar chat if y'all are feeling good. Am I moving too fast? Maybe too slow? We'll probably at the rate I'm going, probably end the webinar like a couple minutes early, like 10 minutes early. When I say a couple minutes, more like 10 minutes. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate the emojis. Okay, so I'll keep moving forward onto our next topic. Our last and final topic is about technology stack. So what is a technology stack? I come from a tech background, so these are kind of fancy words sometimes. Sounds scary, but the idea is, what softwares are you using? What's everything you have? What do you pay for or don't pay for? Just what is everything your business touches and uses? That's your technology stack. And we're going to try to assess it. These are all very high level stuff. So in the sense, like, I'm just prompting you and asking you questions to think about how to organize your business better. And can basically contain the chaos, right? We want to work on our business, not in our business. And sometimes we're often stuck in the business. So part of this technology stack assessment challenge is to really look at every software you use, why you're using them. Is there any redundancy for them? Is there any redundancy in them? And when I say redundancy, is in the way you're using it. For example, if you are in Gmail also has like a Google Chat. Does your team end up using that Google Chat to talk to each other? While on top of it, you might use Slack as chatting. Or for example, Zoom also has a chat. And then are you also using Zoom for chatting? That's where like that redundancy usage is. And we're asking this question to get you thinking about it so that you're more aware and more intentional of how you're using the software. So a little chart to get you thinking about it is this a T-chart? Just a chart. A chart. One column says software. Think about all the softwares you use, make a list of them. The middle column is like the purpose, like why did you buy it in the first place? Why did you start using the software? And then the last column is reality check. How are you really using it? So these are some examples I shared, like the Google Suite has email, but it also has like email, chatting with teams, calendar, file storage. Software like Dropbox is storage. And how are we using it? File storage. And then all of a sudden you have Calendly, calendar scheduling, but then how are you using it? Maybe you're using it for calendar and calendar scheduling. So you see like there's redundancy in some of them, like the Dropbox with the storage, and then the Google Suites also in storage. Is one team member storing files in Dropbox, and then another team member is storing it in Google Drive. The idea of this, again, as I'm reiterating, is just to emphasize like being honest with yourself. How are you using the technology, and trying to get rid of the redundancy so you have like a more streamlined process, right? If you're using Dropbox as your main way of file storage and you don't want to use Google, you have to be firm about it and make sure everything you do goes into that process. So making sure you eliminate that redundancy so you're not stressing about it or thinking about it in the future, as in like your future self will be like, where did I put that file? Is it in my Google Drive or is it in Dropbox? I don't know. Let me just go search both spaces. And then you're like on a wild goose hunt looking for it. You're like, where did it go? Maybe it's on my computer too. And just searching everywhere for it. So my hope is for you to evaluate your technology stack and really think about how you're using stuff and being more intentional with it. So this is the last activity. Here's the chart again for you to think about. Drop some questions so I can answer them. This is kind of like the end of the presentation. So please do ask questions.
There's a couple of questions. One, do you recommend Google Drive or Dropbox? And the one was a comment about someone who has 3 emails. They do come into one box, but they still check all 3. So
Oh, okay. I see them. So I will go from the bottom up. Google Drive, Dropbox, or Box. Which one do you like the most? I don't really have a preference towards them, but I say that because um I have a tech background, so I adapt to a lot of things easier. I just say for people is to use what makes easiest for you. So I have coworkers or colleagues before that really hates Google Drive and prefer Dropbox. So I would recommend to them is like if Dropbox makes your life easier, then use it because the um although it's not like within one system, but it's outside of it, if you commit to it, you're more like if it makes you happy, you're more likely to commit to it and then more likely to stick to the process for it. And that whole emphasis in the whole presentation is like sticking to a process because that makes your life easier in the future. Rachel asked, good prompt. Have 3 emails and they all forward to one, but still check all 3. Yeah, that happens a lot. I know you didn't really ask for a question, but something to maybe think about for that is like maybe the email filters and labeling to help you just know like which inbox it's coming through and then being able to respond through that. So you don't have to go through all of them and you just have one space to check them. Rosa asked, show an actual example of a file naming convention. Let me go back. So example of a file naming convention. So these are examples right here. If you can see them, I have the business expenses. I use a business name first. So for example, I use Google Suites and I have a receipt coming in every month for it. So I always rename it to say Google first. And then I tell myself the purpose in case like for my future self that I need to search for something email suite. And then I have a date at the end. In this example, I choose to put the date at the end because it wasn't important for me to know when the stuff are as much as I want to know the business, who I'm paying out to. So then when my tax stuff comes in, I can look up based on the business. And then another example is like the meeting notes right here. I did date first and then the purpose of the meeting. And then I end it with the word meeting notes. The word meeting notes is a little bit redundant because it's notes, but I put it there in case if I ever search for notes and I was like, I might think about the word meeting. So I could put in the word meeting into the actual file name itself. So I could look for it easier and it pops up. So I hope that helps, Rosa. Amy asks, what automation tools do you recommend to help with organization? That's a that's a hard question to answer. And I say that because as someone who lives in system, it is so dependent on how you work as an individual and what technology you're currently using to do those automations or find ways to make them work for you. Personally, I use like 3 set. Do I use 3 systems? Yeah, I kind of use 3 systems for myself, but that's also because I like technology and there was no one technology that works best for me. So I made 3 technologies work for me. For example, I use ClickUp for all my project management stuff. I have a CRM for all my client specific networking stuff. And then I use like Reclaim AI as my prioritization automation. So it helps me just be able to figure out all my tasks in my ClickUp project management. It connects to Reclaim, which prioritizes everything and schedules it in for me, and I can see it. But that's as someone who loves technology and works in it. So that's the automation tools I use. But it's to recommend it for people. I often want to work with people individually, or I tell them to really reflect on what technology do you use? Do you like technology? And if you don't, how can we use the current technology to automate things for you? Do they have automations? For example, like Gmail has that email filtering, it has an automation. Outlook does have automation. It's called rules. So it'll label emails coming in based on the rules you set for it. So I'm sorry that I wasn't quite able to answer the question, Amy, just because it's hard and it's very individualized depending on your business and who you are and how you work. Yeah. Rachel shared that they got a lot from the technology stack of the webinar to get inside the why of experiencing the chaos. Using pen and paper notebook system also helps with real life calendar, and excited to make some changes to contain that chaos. I'm glad for you, Rachel. That's very exciting. I'm very happy to hear that this is helpful for you all. Yeah. So just a last summary of everything. You all will get a slideshow or the PowerPoint presentation of this from SCORE. They'll send it out an email. There's links on the side, not right here, but throughout the presentations, which you'll be able to click on. And if you can't, if any of them are broken, please let me know. I made sure to click through them all, but things change on the internet because it's reliant on other people, right? So let me know. I'm always happy to fix it and look through things. So this is a summary of our webinar, what we went over. And the hope is that you're able to take something to kind of free up some of your day-to-day admin stuff and really focus on elevating your business. And it's also very hard because a lot of these things I try to give some concrete examples at the beginning, but as we get to the end, I did mention it all really depends on you and how you work. So it's more of reflecting and thinking about how you work to figure out the system that best works for you. And I did all of this based on how I work and my system that works for me. But I know that my system doesn't always work for everyone. And I acknowledge that. So I'm sorry, if it wasn't an easy answer and solution, like that silver bullet that everyone would like that just resolves all the problems, right? Yeah. This is my information. You can reach out to me at liz@snpfactor.com. If you have any questions, I'm always more than happy to just chat, run through some ideas with you and give you some tips if you're very overwhelmed. And then again, you'll be able to click on all these links once you get there. I always love coffee and tea chats, virtual chats. I say I don't like talking a lot. I'm more I don't like talking at people a lot, but I love conversations. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out and just chat with me. I love networking and getting to know you.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz. I'm very happy we had this presentation today because I find a lot of people don't even realize that systems and processes are an absolute must. If you don't have those, you're pretty much going to be behind on the game, right? So thank you for all the good information. And for all of you guys that are in here, we're going to send out the recordings and everything like that, but we're also going to send out a survey for you guys. So if you have any great feedback from today's presentation, definitely let us know. I'm still going to be talking to Liz. We're still going to be talking about more workshop ideas. So if you have any ideas on how we can take it a step further, let us know. We definitely want to hear that. So that way we can start putting together a curriculum for you guys so you can learn and you can grow and you can do better, right? Separately, if you guys do have follow-up questions, that's always a good opportunity for you guys to request a mentor, right? So like people like myself, people like Ian, any of our people in the SCORE network can sit down with you guys and really start talking about the systems that would make the most sense for you guys. Because like Liz said, something that could work for me or that could work for her might not necessarily work too well for you because we're all different people and everybody works a little bit differently, right? So definitely follow up with us so that way we can go over a lot of this content with you guys and make sure you're using the best systems that work for you.
Liz, there is one more question about what apps you recommend.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll read that out loud for people. Jack asks, as a person with ADHD and needs systems, what apps do I recommend? Top 5 apps for organization for notes, business receipts, meetings, and brainstorming. Oh, great question. I say top 5 apps for me. Oh, that's so hard just because, again, I'm a tech person. So I love playing with technology and exploring it. I would say for notes, it seems a little bit obvious, but digital notes, just so you can search through things and have it. I love pen and paper. Like I honestly have a whole notebook. I don't think you can see it, but I have a whole notebook. I take notes by hand. But at the end of the day, afterwards, I still put it into a Google Doc or some kind of note system. And right now for me, I'm just using Google, was it just Google Notes? Wait, Google Docs? Google Docs. Yeah, words. I just use Google Docs because I pay for Google and I didn't feel like I needed to venture out and find other notes app for that. Business receipts. I'm still actually looking and trying to figure out a best bookkeeping app. So I don't have the answer for that. I always digitize all my business receipts. I take a picture of it and I immediately file name it and put it into the receipts folder for myself. And that process has consistently helped me stay organized with that. But it is a lot of manual work. So still working on trying to figure out the best bookkeeping app. Meetings, apps for meetings. I think if you're asking like more of like a webinar, kind of like Zoom and such, I would say I use Zoom, and right now Zoom has a AI that does artificial intelligence note taking for you and summaries. I've enabled that for all my Zoom meetings, and after the Zoom meetings, it's been lovely for me just to also see high level things without having to do recording so much and having a recorded information that I will never rewatch an hour worth of a meeting, but I will look at the high level review of things. And then for brainstorming, I use pen and paper, but I also am tired of technology. I love technology, but I get tired of staring at technology. So I use pen and paper and then I just try to take a picture of it and put it in a folder so I don't forget it or digitize it in some way. Like I still haven't perfected my system, as you can tell. But I'm still learning about it and this whole process too. So it's a learning curve for sure.
And to Liz's point too, sometimes you guys might not necessarily need to integrate technology into your stack for a particular task. Like for brainstorming, that might be a situation where it's just, I get together in a meeting with a couple of my buddies or really good associates. Me and Liz do it sometimes, right? We get together and just chat and talk and brainstorm. That could just be a situation where you guys are recording it and it's something you can go back and watch later, or, it's in like your video files or something like that. a lot of things, and kind of who was it who asked the question? It was Jack. To your point, and I think this is for anybody, if you have ADHD or not, you definitely want to integrate tools that are going to help you in your everyday life, but you don't want to integrate too many tools so that way you get paralysis by having too many things you need to start using in your life and your business. So always keep that in mind. There was, oh no, I was going to say there was another question, but Lisa said she uses OneNote, which is very helpful. Yeah, I'm the same way. And then the same thing as Liz, I'm like super dedicated to having AI take pretty much all of my notes because I'm horrible at keeping up with conversations that we've had during meetings, especially when we talk about 50 million things in a single meeting a lot of the times, right? So you guys just have to find that right balance that's going to work for you. And I think a lot of the information and a lot of the context that Liz gave today will enable you guys to make the decisions that you need to make in order to pick the right software.
And if you need help to just brainstorm the software or work through some things, like it's not office hours, but like again, I said I have coffee, tea chats, like schedule with me, chat with me. I'm really open to just offering support where I can. And this is not solicitation. I'm not trying to sell anything. It's honestly me just wanting to help and uplift other people because I believe that's how the world goes around, right? I uplift you, and one day I hope karma comes around and something will uplift me too.
Definitely. Thank you, Liz. Well, I will go ahead and get us wrapped up here with my closing housekeeping. We like to keep the house very clean here. So for those we're so silly. For those of you that stayed along for the entire presentation, thank you for sticking along with us here. Liz got us wrapped up nice and early, so you guys have a couple minutes of your day you can buy back some time and get things done. Just as a really quick reminder, this was all recorded, so if any of you guys came in late or you had to leave early or anything between the two, we'll be sending you this through email. You guys will get the slides, you will get the recording, you will get all the information that Liz put together so you guys can review it. Furthermore, I will be sending out a survey, and I say this every single time. Please, 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 please fill out that survey. We love the feedback, all right? So let us know how Liz did. If you love the presentation, if you want her to give us some different information the next time, let me know what things you guys want to see so that way I can find the presenters that are going to be good for you guys. I think Liz did a really great job today. I'm looking to do more workshops similar to this one so that way you guys can have balance through all the different facets of your business, not just things like marketing or sales or, different things like that. So we really want to help you guys out. If you have questions, follow up with Liz, follow up with myself, or you guys can request a mentor and we will help you out as much as we possibly can because we are what? Here for the life of your business. Awesome. Thank you today, Liz, for the presentation, and thank you everybody for coming in today. Hopefully everyone enjoys the rest of their day, and I hope you guys crush it the rest of the week. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.